We've covered every WCW game in some form, except for one. WCW Main Event, developed by Beam Software and published by FCI, the team behind Super Brawl on the SNES, was released in February 1994, so it's actually the second WCW game ever released, beating out Super Brawl by 9 months or so. Main Event wasn't just a generic name. WCW had a show by that name from 1988 to 1998 that aired on Sundays for most of its run, and they used it as a live lead-in show to pay-per-views in the mid-90s. It may seem odd to name a video game after one of your B television shows, but Nitro wasn't around yet, and WCW's main show was Saturday night. And calling your game Saturday night's just silly. Well, unless Slam Masters comes at the end. Since Super Brawl and Main Event were made by the same developers and released in the same year, you'd think there'd be some similarities, but they're really quite different. There is some overlap on the rosters. Dustin Rhodes, Vader, Sting, Rick Rude, Ron Simmons, Johnny B. Bad, and the Steiner brothers were included in both games. Although Ric Flair, Barry Windham, Ricky Steamboat, and Brian Pillman didn't make the cut for Main Event. The one wrestler who was exclusive to Main Event was Stunning Steve Austin, making his video game debut. Although this was his only WCW game appearance, and he didn't show up in another game until Warzone over 4 years later. This game has the most confusing menu screens ever. You start off with a choice of singles match or an elimination match. An elimination match isn't the kind you would see at Survivor Series. It's just the game's version of beat everyone to win the title. Then you get your difficulty choices of professional, continental title, or world title. In Super Brawl, the difficulty options were TV, US, and world title. And it looks like that's what they were going for here, but they got a little confused. Especially since there's no such thing as a continental title, at least in WCW. Then you get options for number of falls and time limit. Number of falls gives you the choice between 1, 3, or 5 falls, but if you select time limit, that makes the match an Iron Man match with 5, 10, or 15 minute limits. No tag matches, which is frustrating, especially since there's a tag team in the game. Sort through all that, you can actually play the game. Grapples are pretty limited. It's basically B for body slams and A does a suplex. But you can also attack a downed opponent, do running moves, and come flying, and I do mean flying, off the top rope. Good thing the game didn't come out 2 years earlier. You get DQ'd every time you came off the top. You have a health bar, what I presume is a stamina bar underneath that. Sorry, there wasn't a lot of info on this game online. You also have a star, which is your special move you activate by hitting the select button. You start each match with 1 star, and you'll get another one every 15 seconds or so after you use it, which is strange, since in other games you usually have to string together offense to earn special moves, not just kill time. I say special moves instead of finishers, because you can only activate the move when both you and your opponent are standing. This is fine for Rude Awakening, say, but instead of the Scorpion Deathlock, Sting does a weird flying body press thing. And if you lose any match, you get stretchered out, and I don't think those EMTs are doing a very good job. The graphics are a little funky. Wrestlers are decently sized and look pretty okay, although Vader's looking pretty svelte here. What's going on with Ron Simmons? Damn! Here's a pro tip. Don't have Dustin Rhodes and Steve Austin in the same match. You're going to get confused pretty quick. And again, I have to ask, where are Vader's pants? There's no in-game music, just some Atari bleeps and bloops. So if you're in public and have the sound turned down, you're not missing anything. On the sliding scale, Main Event's not too bad of a game. Not the deepest gameplay, but fine to pull out and play for a bit before you get too sick of it. Since we have our Game Boys out, let's pop in WWF Superstars 2. If you remember episode 35, I was quite high on the original Superstars, which had great graphics and fun gameplay. That game was developed by Rare, but the sequel is handled by Sculptured Software, and this is basically a port of Steel Cage Challenge for the NES, a game I wasn't as high on. You have 6 wrestlers to choose from: Hulk Hogan, Sid Justice, Jake Roberts, Randy Savage, The Undertaker, and the Mountie. Of course, when the game came out in August of 1992, Sid and Jake were already gone. Hogan was in the middle of a long sabbatical, and Mountie only lasted a few more months. Not saying it's anyone's fault, just that if you got this for Christmas 1992, it was already pretty outdated. Start the game up and you treat it to Hulk Hogan throwing his customary drop kick to Randy Savage on the intro screen. The good news is the game gives you singles and tag action, gauntlet mode, as well as steel cages. Although you can't do steel cage tag matches. The weird thing about tag matches is you don't select your two wrestlers right after the other. Like Takedown, you alternate picks with the computer. So there's a chance the wrestler you want will already be taken. Why even do this? The steel cage option is alright. You beat up your opponent, and when they're on the mat, climb out of the cage and win. What's weird is that if you're climbing and your opponent gets up off the mat, you automatically fall off the cage. They don't have to shake it or anything, you instantly take a header. The bad news is it shares a similar grapple system with Steel Cage Challenge, meaning everyone has the same moves and there's no real difference between the wrestlers. Granted, the original Superstars was the same way, but those controls are a lot more smoother than its sequel. You can suplex, body slam, or headbutt out of the grapple, do running or ground attacks, and fly off the top. But I find if you just keep punching and moving around, you can win most matches pretty quickly. One weird quirk is you can hit the select button once a match and get all your health back. Why didn't they just double your health bar? The computer can do this too, which confused the hell out of me the first time I started playing, and the game literally hulked up on me. Graphically, the game's not too bad. The wrestlers look fine, and they added some nice details like announcers at ringside. You do get to hear your wrestler's theme during the selection screen and match introductions. But like Main Event, it lacks in-game music too. Its main sound effect is static to simulate crowd noise, I guess. It's too bad we can't combine Main Event and Superstars. Take the special moves of Main Event, mix it with the tag and singles option from Superstars 2, you'd probably have the best wrestling Game Boy game. As it is, they're okay, but far from classics. Well, till next time, thanks for watching, and remember, the winner is you.